And what's up, guys? Today I'm gonna do a little bit of different video for people who have been asking questions about Rauta, Finland and whatever topics we've been discussing here. This is actually a Facebook chat-based questions thingy, which I kind of forgot for like 3 months. Sorry for that. And now it's time to do a little bit of questions and answering, or ask me anything sort of video, because like I said, I forgot to do it earlier. Better late than never, as the saying goes. So let's just take a little bit of beer. This time I'll go with Brewdog Pulp Patriot, the 9.5% milkshake IPA. IPA standing for India Pale Ale. Really fruity, great stuff here. So let's get the engines going, and I'm gonna introduce the channel which asked me these questions first, and read the question, answer it, and so forth. I'll need a drink or two and get things sorted. So these questions are from Hammerheart el Baúl del Metal from Colombia. A very exotic country when it comes to metal, because I hardly know any Colombian bands. So without more wasting your time, let's get to the questions, and I'll do my best in order to answer them. The first question is, how are metal events in your city and Finland? Do they have any good attendance? What does it depend on? Now, metal events in Finland, that's quite a big thing, because I mean, anybody who has done any numbers or figures when it comes to metal bands based on, country size, per capita, know that Finland is, if not the leading, one of the leading countries in metal music. That is, bands per population or whatever. So in that sense, we also have quite a bit of gigs and metal festivals, even though we're just 5 million people. Now, there are lots of bigger kind of rock metal festivals during the summertime, obviously, because our summertime is short and sweet, and the rest of the time nobody just basically wants to go out. But during summertime we have, from the bigger ones, we have a Tuska, which is more the mainstream metal festival. Anything from kind of a hard rock to black metal and everything in between can be heard and seen in that Tuska. For example, this year at the lightest, it's still having some names. It's Europe, the Swedish hardcore legend, and all that, to Body Count, At the Gates, Emperor, and all that kind of stuff. So that is definitely maybe the most important metal festival we have in Finland. Usually very crowded, tens of thousands of people attending each year to see metal bands from all over the world, and also drink beers, meet friends and whatnot. Then there are a couple of metal festivals which are not just metal, but worthwhile at least some years. Nummirock is being, I think, kind of the second most important metal festival in Finland, because that takes part in midsummer, which is the grand day of drinking and celebrating in Finland. So that is just by a camping area in a very idyllic spot, lake, camping area, and of course stages for bands. I've been there like 10 times, seeing bands like Slayer, Morbid Angel, Imbel Nazarene and whatnot. It's a great festival, but at this age a little hard to attend, because like I said, the midsummer is in general one of the celebrating events. So family people don't always attend to those festivals, because they have families. So those are the two main festivals when it comes to metal. And there's some other ones which are not so much focused on metal, but kind of a metal rock, and sometimes even indie pop or whatever. Province Rock is one of the biggest ones, but it's more leaning towards rock pop than metal. But sometimes like bands like Manowar, Danzig, whatnot have played there. Names like Rammstein, and of course And then Illusory rock is pretty much the same idea. You can find black metal there, but even more you can find kind of indie pop rock stuff. So it's not like a metal festival, but there's some cool bands every now and then. Then there are Rockfest, which is more rock, but sort of a metal festival too. For instance, now it was like Judas Priest headlining there, but also bands like, look at a grabby band like, you know, 500 Death Punch or Avenged Sevenfold or whatever kind of stuff. And then there are smaller but even more metal festivals like Steelfest, which we've been covering quite well, especially this year. And then Steel Case, which is a kind of an indoor festival now coming for the second time. Then Turku Saatanalla, which we also covered, underground metal fest during early months like late February, early March or whatever. And then there are even more rockish, popish festival thingies, and of course some random metal events and events like Sauna Rock and Saari Helvetti, which are not that common, but kind of a newcomers presenting some metal. So lots of festivals in summertime and during autumn, winter, spring, smaller events. Some are kind of repeatedly organized, set up and all that stuff, and some are just, you know, one-time thingies. So lots of events from small clubs, small bar gigs and whatnot to big stuff, but obviously not the big kind of, you know, in the American big, because Finland is just at 5 billion and something million, make no mistake. A good attendance, that totally varies from, you know, festival to festival. Usually those that have been long enough, like tens of years by now, such as Tuska being like 20 years plus, and places like Numerok, same thing, more than 20 years going on. Those have really steady attendance and they're going strong year after year. But smaller ones are obviously smaller ones, you know, attendance wise too. So it's like a few hundred people, but usually these more solid, more trustworthy ones are more or less sold out. So I guess we could say in Finland these festivals are doing just fine. And it seems more and more stuff are organized, so it's not dying or anything like that. And what does it depend on? Well, that totally means, or depends on, you know, the bands in question, the price of the tickets and all that kind of stuff. I think more solid festivals have, you know, more loyal audience, obviously. So there you go. I hope that answers the question. Now the question number 2, or the group of 2 questions, is like, what groups and genres attract more audience? Popularity is a determining factor. Well, I guess so, but it's totally like different thing to, you know, go to Tuska and see like big names playing there. For some people, it doesn't even matter what kind of bands are playing. People just go there, you know, just, you know, see and meet friends and some bands. So it doesn't matter so much what I'm playing. Some are more picky. For example, I just don't want to go to a festival just, you know, for the sake of it. For me, of course, it doesn't matter, you know, to see friends and all that stuff, but also bands. I mean, like for Tuska, I've been there like many times, but also I've skipped it quite many times, more like 50-50 or something like that. So I think for many people like me or like-minded, it does really matter if the bands meet the kind of a need, or I mean, like if the price ticket is, you know, kind of online with the bands you want to see. I mean, like, why would anybody spend like 100 euros to see 2 bands? It don't make sense. And then again, sometimes it's just, you know, crowded with interesting bands one wants to see. So obviously that has a lot of matter, you know, like, are the bands cool? What does the ticket cost? Is it nearby? I mean, location always matters. For example, people living in like northern part of Finland, they just don't travel like 8 hours on a train or a bus or whatever to see 2 bands. So when, you know, people in like Helsinki, the capital area, for example, if there are gigs, they are more crowded because, I mean, just, you can travel like in 5 minutes or 30 minutes to see a big festival or smaller gigs. It doesn't matter. But for, northern part of Finland, things obviously change quite a bit. So location does matter as well as the names of the lineup and price and everything. I think it's pretty basic stuff. So I don't know what to really say to that other than that. And genre-wise, I think Finland is very ready for, just, mainstream heavy metal or, black metal, very popular. But also death metal is, getting people in. Then again, there are genres such as thrash metal, which is not so sexy and, sweet for people. So it does matter what the genres are. But, basic heavy metal, power metal, symphonic metal, or Nightwish and all that stuff, it goes. And, like I said, black metal is a big thing anyhow. So, those kind of stuff are doing nicely in Finland. Number 3 is what festivals exist in Finland, which are the best. Well, I guess I pretty much listed the major ones. In my opinion, the best ones are Steelfest, being the number 1 now that Hammer Open Air is out of question, as well as Black Flames of Blasphemy, which used to be really cool. Steelcase is basically taking over of Black Flames in the kind of the same way that Steelfest is taking over of Hammer Open Air. So those 4 might be the best. Tuska, it totally depends. I kind of like it and I kind of don't. Well, I mean, the venue is quite great and people are always, you get to see a lot of friends there, and it doesn't matter to me if it's mainstream or not. But usually Tuska is just, way too different music rather than mine. But I mean, I'm kind of undecided. For me, it used to be more better because it used to be more about the bands I like. For example, first Tuska had like Gorgoroth back in 1997 or something like that. So it used to be different, or was 1998. Anyhow, it used to be different in the terms of, what bands were playing. But then again, I've seen lots of cool bands in the later years in Tuska, like, bands like Morbid Angel and stuff. So I think it's one of the best for people who are open-minded with their taste for metal music. But of course, if you're just looking for, say, black metal or black death or whatever, then it's not a very big thing. But it depends, totally depends on what kind of music you're after. People who are more into kind of a lightweight metal, if you can call it that, or hard rock or whatever, there are good festivals and places to be, so yeah. And I wouldn't say the biggest are the better than the small festivals, because, for example, I think Steelfest is better because it's not that big. It might be good if it was bigger. I don't know really. I don't know how it would affect it. Maybe the bands would be different, but one cannot say simply that bigger is better or smaller is better, because it totally depends, year by year how it goes, what are the bands and whatnot. And who organizes them? Various people. Some are more business-wise, some are just, people having a kind of organization, just setting up for those, festivals. So it depends. There are not like single big thingies, creating huge business out of it. So cannot really answer that more accurate than that. Number 4, what do you propose to improve the scene in Finland and still have greater relevance in the world scene? I don't know really, because the scene is quite great. I mean, for example, I think we are one of the better black metal scenes in throughout the world. Death metal is quite solid as well, and we are quite okay with the mainstream metal, be it heavy metal, symphonic metal, whatever. So I don't know. Thing is that Finnish bands would need to tour more, and actually bigger bands would have to come all the way here in order, Finnish bands to, warm up them. But it's not that easy, because Finland is quite, we are a little bit in a corner, Some bigger bands just might come to Sweden, and Norway and Denmark, and then just head south or southeast rather than east towards Finland, unless they are, what I've been told, heading for Russia. So I think we're kind of in a bad quarter, so it doesn't matter we are like these heavy metal people, because Finland is sometimes just left out from these kind of things. So what would you, in order to improve Finnish scene, or the bands being more known, well known, I think we need to locate Finland someplace else. I don't know, maybe between France and Great Britain. There you go. Number 5, what role does the state have in dissemination and or support of festivals? Not big thing. Unlike in Norway or places like that, or maybe Sweden, the state is not kind of a supportive. I mean, of course, there can be little budget thingies from the state in order to promote live arts, but usually it goes other places than metal music. Metal is still not seen as kind of a basic culture thing or whatever. So there might be organizations supporting, giving a kind of a sponsorship money or whatever, but state as self, the government, whatever, nope, nothing to do with metal music or festivals, as far as I know. I mean, might be totally wrong, but that's what I got the information, and I don't think state has nothing to do, absolutely nothing to do with metal music in Finland or festivals. Number 6, how easy or difficult it is to acquire original music, CDs, LPs, tapes? Well, given the internet and given the postal services, it's quite easy to just, order stuff online and get them delivered here, as long as you get the money to pay for the postage and sending, stuff. We have some really cool distributors and record store chains, at least one particularly interesting, which are doing the job just fine. So I guess it's pretty easy. But once again, Finland being relatively small country creates problems when it becomes, when you want to go to a store, and buy a, rare or cult underground LP, CD, tape, whatever. It's not that easy because we don't have the amount of people to reach the sort of critical mass, because we don't have these kind of a multi-million people cities, so we can't just have those stores either. But in general, it doesn't really matter, because like I said, postal services function quite okay, and internet helps people to browse stuff online, so it is quite easy. At least we don't have a sort of big brother's watching eye towards like you cannot order this and that band. For example, like Cannibal Corpse had a thing in Germany when those albums were just banned, and same for Impale Nazarene and whatnot. In Finland we don't have that kind of censorship, so if that's the meaning of this question, surely easy enough to get those materials. Alright, almost 80 minutes in, better to speed it up. 7. How positive or negative do you think the arrival of the internet in metal has been? Well, in general, very positive. It certainly takes quite a bit of mysticism out of metal people, bands, artists and whatnot. But in terms of, creating these kind of festivals and events, correspondence between bands and, promoters, festivals, events, whatever, it's so much easier. You can just pretty much send email, Skype, Facebook, whatever. And also all kind of tape trading has become like extremely more easy, because it is just so easy to pass the information or do videos like Rauta channel. I mean, this couldn't have been possible, I don't know, 15 years ago. I mean, all these kind of blogs or YouTube channels and whatnot, these are relatively new stuff. I mean, I used to write for a long time before creating a Rauta channel, and I'm still writing reviews and whatnot, but everything was basically done in the internet era. I mean, when I was like 20, That was 1995. So internet was already, knocking on people's doors. So I think it changed a lot, because before that, you just went to record store, or have friends who might have been tape trading or reading signs or whatever, and suddenly it all started to change really quickly. But back in the 90s, late 90s, things were obviously way more different. But early 2000s, things started to speed up, and with coming of YouTube especially, not to mention Spotify and other streaming services, things have gone even more, to the direction that everything is just, easy, one click away. Whether you want to check out some underground low print run black metal release, even its vinyl, you can probably find it on YouTube or Bandcamp. And then there are other streaming services, and of course there's always various stuff, kind of piracy stuff. So things have changed in general so much more towards good stuff, easiness, and that kind of. But of course, there are always this sort of people who are just, like, I don't want, technology to ruin everything for us. It used to be better because I had to, dig those potatoes out of my field with my own fingers. There were no tools. So these kind of people, Luddites or whatever they're called, are always against technology. I'm not. I'm just welcoming our robot overlords and, take care of the mankind and all that stuff. But that's another point. We can discuss that later on. But yeah, it has changed very much. Number 8, what do you think the Finland scene has to contribute to the metal industry? Well, metal industry as the record industry, or whether it's about black metal scenes or metal scenes in general, two different things. Industry-wise, I don't know. Finland has never been the country of big labels and big music business thingies. But if we're talking about the relevance of these kind of different sub-genre scenes, maybe, yeah, I think Finland has had quite an impact in so many ways, in so many different genres, especially black metal, but also death metal, a little bit in thrash metal, and of course in more mainstream metal. Think of bands like Him or Nightwish and stuff like that. They are kind of big things in their own subgenre or whatever. But as a whole, I think Finland is just one of the countries among the rest. Even though we have lots of bands and metalheads per capita, I don't know if it makes that big a difference. Compared to Sweden, Norway, well, the whole Nordic countries area is big in metal when it comes to that. But then again, bigger countries, especially United States or Germany, they have had more impact on metal in general. But Finland is, for a relatively small country, we are strong in that sense. Number 9, how do you analyze the new music trends in the present, and how do you think metal will be in 10, 20 or 30 years? Well, I kind of hate to say that this totally deserves a different opinion video. What I've noticed about myself, as well as many other long-timers in metal music, is that we start to when we get older, we start to turn into stone in a sense. When we were younger, we were more open-minded, we were more eager to hear different genres, or not care so much about genre limits or borders or whatever. And we were more open-minded about new bands, new whatever in metal had to offer. But when people get older, not just metal people by the way, we start to turn into stone in that self. We're not that flexible and open-minded. We become like these statues. We just don't move or think differently. We are bound to just repeat the same patterns which we did already like 20, 30 years ago. in effect, that means that if as younger kids we would just like, okay, this kind of genre, this kind of band, oh, what's there? Nowadays it's just about, listening to the same kind of bands which we were listening so long time ago, and newer bands and new genres. For example, like metalcore. So many older people's like, oh, that's not real metal. Don't go there. These are just posers and whatnot. Listen to these bands, which were like the bands already from 19s and 80s or 70s even. So kind of new generation is more flexible and versatile and more open-minded, whereas older people kind of start to just repeat the same old stories, and they're less unable to find new bands. So how do I analyze this? That I don't know which way it's gonna go. But I've been noticing the same patterns. It's harder to enjoy new types of music in the same way as the old genres. So what's gonna be in 10 or 20 or 30 years, I truly don't know. I kind of hope metalcore suffers the same thing, for example, the new metal had in the mid 90s or whatever, when it came crashing down so quickly after having this hype and trendy stuff, and then people just mostly forgot it. And but I don't know, I mean, music is constantly evolving, and it's quite okay. I mean, I don't expect to just hear bands which are doing like 50 years later those same Bathory or Celtic Frost or Burzum riffs and songs again and again and again without any kind of evolution or change or originality. So I think all these new genres or subgenres, like post-black, post-metal, black gaze, the others, they're just deathcore, metalcore, gent. They are bound to happen, and it necessarily doesn't mean anything bad or neutral. It might be just awesome, good, but I don't know, because sometimes these experiments and ideas, they go totally wrong direction. Sometimes they're just like awesome, cool, these kind of stuff are happening, and it's wonderful. But I don't know, to be honest, I don't have the visionary skills, and even if I was, I probably wouldn't be playing any kind of new genre just because I could be having this idea, okay, let's do this kind of music which just takes parts of, I don't know, movie sound and game soundtracks, and then put some black metal screamy vocals there, and have some opera vocals. Yeah, it's gonna be great, because I think it's a horrible idea. Maybe it works for some people, but so I don't know. I'm not a visionary in that sense, and never will, I guess. So who knows? Things will happen slowly, and eventually you probably notice a new genre be born. It might be utter crap, or it might be just the greatest things ever. So the last question is like an obligatory question. Do you know any Colombian metal bands? I'm sorry to say, mostly no. Inquisition, which is nowadays US based, is probably the only one that comes to my mind. So god damn it, I need to get more information about that. What I know, there are no big names in Colombia. Basically the whole Latin America country, be it like Central American or South American. I mean, given the sizes of all these countries, Brazil, for example, being huge, I mean, not too many bands appear in a like major scale. I mean, of course, there are bands like Sepultura and stuff like that. But given the size of these countries, the amount of people there, it's kind of odd. They are like China, no big names coming out of these countries for most part. I mean, of course, there are cult names, like Sarcophagos and stuff like that, but mostly it's just, lacking these huge names, and maybe it has something to do with music industry. I truly don't know, but I love the passion of what kind of Latin America, probably Colombia as well, have there in their blood. I mean, something unique in a way, but I wish I knew more, and I wish I had more time to dig into that. But I'm constantly, buried under dozens and dozens of review CDs all the time, not to mention all those digital links. So it's not like I have spare time to just to dig into the Colombian scene or whatever. So I just guess I'd be reviewing the stuff I get sent, and hopefully someday I know more than I do nowadays. That's all. And now I have been talking almost 30 minutes. It's time to say thank you for watching, and thank you for being a Rauta follower or subscriber. See you soon with more opinion videos this way, and there will be a proper Ask Me Anything AMA video later in the summer when I have the questions listed and ready to answer them all. Thank you and adios.